members, I've been informed that the whip party has agreed that there will be no notice of motion or motion without notice. Let me take this opportunity and welcome our special delegates, MSCs from different provinces. You are welcome in the National Council of Provinces. The Secretary will read the first order of the day.
Consideration of report of Select Committee on Economic and Business Development and Select Committee on Trade and International Relations, joint study tour to Malaysia and Singapore.
Honorable Makoe, the Chairperson of Select Committee of Economic and Business Development.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Good afternoon to all the members, our delegates, special delegates from the provinces. Honorable Chairperson and members, the Select Committee on Economic and Business Development and the Select Committee on Trade and International Relations have undertaken a joint study tour to Malaysia and Singapore from the 17th to the 24th of April of this year. And we welcome the opportunity to present the following statement. The study tour focused on the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, what is called ASEAN, with specific focus on Malaysia and Singapore. The ASEAN region is one of the fastest growing regions, which is estimated to have a combined GDP of $2.1 trillion and a population of more than 600 million people. Like in the case of Malaysia and Singapore, our government's National Development Plan emphasizes inclusive growth that would ensure that economic growth benefits and contributes towards the well-being of all South Africans, particularly contribute to the lives of those who were previously excluded in the mainstream economy. Our key objective in the International Study Tour was to learn how Malaysia and Singapore's experiences can reach our government strategies in addressing socio-economic challenges. During 1997, South Africa signed a trade agreement with Malaysia. The trade between Malaysia and South Africa has grown relatively from approximately 16 million in 2013 to 17 billion in 2014, from 16 billion to 17 billion in 2014. The Malaysian economy has undergone notable transformation from dependence on agriculture and commodity exports. Dependence on agriculture and commodity exports, which is the same that we're having in South Africa, to a more diversified and open economy with strong links to global value chains. This is a development that South Africa can learn from. Lessons may also be drawn from Malaysian policy implementation initiatives. A case in point is Operation Pakisah, which has been adapted and adopted using the Malaysian implementation model. Our multi-party delegation engaged in deliberations with the following: the Malaysia Economic Planning Unit, a government entity under the Department of the Prime Minister, the Malaysian Ministry of Tourism and Culture, that is self-explanatory, the SME Corporation Malaysia incorporating the SME Bank, SME Small and Medium Enterprises Bank, that started operating in 2005 as a development financial institution regulated by Bank Negara Malaysia and reporting to the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, the MTII. We also met with the Performance Management Delivery Unit. Singapore aims to have increased skills in every job, ensured that domestic firms have necessary capacity and capability to be competitive in Asia and globally by 2020. Singapore further plans to ensure that Singaporeans become a global city. It has a challenge of an aging population. To that effect, Singapore has invested in adult learning and more broadly in education and training with special focus on maths, science, and technology. And we hear these foci very often raised here in the NCOP as well. South Africa investment in Singapore showed only 10 South African companies have invested in Singapore with capital expenditure of only 1.67 billion rand between January 2003 and October 2015. In the case of Singapore, investment in South Africa represented a total capital investment of only 246 million rand, invested in industries such as business machines and equipment, in industrial machinery, equipment and tools, in medical devices and software and IT services. Plans and activities to achieve Singaporean economic growth and investment were shared with our delegation by the following members: Spring Singapore, the Energy Market Authority, EMA, the Land Transport Authority, the Maritime and Ports Authority of Singapore, the Singapore Manufacturing Federation, but the delegation also visited the Redevelopment Authority City Gallery. The gallery, a very interesting site to observe, was opened in 1999. The gallery provides a miniature structure and a visual map and story of Singapore's physical transformation over the past 50 years. Chairperson, our written report ends with observations made by the delegation. Allow me, on behalf of all members of the delegation, to thank the following people that made our study tour a great achievement. Firstly, we want to thank the governments and agencies of Malaysia and Singapore for their generosity in hosting us and sharing their work with the delegation. Secondly, we want to thank all support staff of the two select committees. Thirdly, we want to thank all members serving in DIRCO that competently made arrangements in the two countries we visited, particularly the DIRCO deployees in those two countries representing our country with excellence. Fourthly, we want to thank our NCO leadership for granting our request to conduct the study tour. And we finally then want to thank all honorable members of the Joint Select Committees for their participation and dedication. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That concludes the debate. I shall now put the question. The question is that the report be agreed to. As the decision is dealt with in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution, I shall first ascertain whether all delegation heads are present in the chamber to vote. Are you present? Eastern Cape, in accordance with Rule 7.1, before starting with Eastern Cape, I shall first allow provinces the declaration of vote if they so wish. Okay, none. Eastern Cape?
Eastern Cape yavumelana ne-report sihlalo.
Free State?
Free State yavumelana sihlalo.
Gauteng?
Gauteng agrees.
KwaZulu Natal?
Siyavuma.
Limpopo?
Limpopo re a dumela.
Mpumalanga?
Siyavuma, Chair.
Northern Cape?
Siyayisekela sihlalo.
Northwest?
Chair, we fully mandated to agree.
Western Cape?
Weskaap stem saam met.
9 provinces voted in favor. I therefore declare the report as agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. The Secretary will read the second order of the day.
Consideration of report of Constitutional Review Committee. 2015 public submissions dated 21 June 2017.
The second order. Yes.
Apologies. Voting on Refugees Amendment Bill, B12B 2016, National Assembly, Section 75, and report of Select Committee on Social Services thereon.
Thank you. Honorable members, this matter was debated in the sitting of the 2nd of November and voting was deferred. We'll therefore now proceed to the voting. I shall now put the question. The question is that the bill, subject to the proposed amendments, be agreed to. Members will vote by pressing in favor, against, or abstain buttons. If your system has got a problem, the front desk will assist you. We are now voting, honorable members. If any member has mistakenly pressed the incorrect button, please press the correct button. If you need any assistance, you can just raise your hand, then you'll be attended accordingly. Have all members voted? Can you attend to Honorable Mampuru? Yes, you can do it manually. Get it and give it to the front desk. All members have voted now. Voting will close. Could the table staff submit the results? Okay, let's have the results. 32 members voted in favor. 11 members voted against. No abstention. The majority of members have voted in favor. I therefore declare the bill subject to the proposed amendments agreed to in terms of Section 75 of the Constitution. The Secretary will read the third order of the day. Secretary.
Consideration of report of Constitutional Review Committee. 2015 public submissions dated 21 June 2017.
Thank you. The Honorable Nzimande.
Thank you. Honorable House Chair, honorable members, special delegates, this is the report of 2015 submissions to the Joint Constitutional Review Committee. The committee received 22 submissions with various subjects for consideration. It is a very long report, Chair. It's got 35 pages. The report was 80 seat accordingly, and the content is varying from the following, Chairperson. And we in the introduction, the committee is indeed affirming its mandate that establishes it, which is Section 45, 1C of the Constitution, and further reference its its conducting of business in the joint rule 102 of the joint rules of Parliament. Of importance, Chair, in this report is the fact that we have recommended an amendment to the Constitution on behalf of the submitter of, namely Deaf Federation, Deaf South Africa in full. They requested, Chair, as we highlight their submission, they requested that section 6.1 be amended for the recognition of sign language as the language, and this would afford the deaf community of South Africa the right of equality to all other language groups. It would also give them access to information which is barred by the virtue of them being deaf and not being able to hear. And it would also enhance the ability of their children to access education. It would enhance the ability of them to communicate and receive services of government. Therefore, the committee in this regard, and we recognize the national director from Deaf South Africa, I think is somewhere in the gallery, Chair. Mr. Bruno Drischen, who helped in bringing the submission and being an activist. Chair, we're doing this as well in line with the commitments that South Africa made in the international world, where we signed a convention on the rights of persons with disabilities. Section 2, Article 2 of that convention, Article 21, 25, 30, specifically talk to this matter of the sign language, Chairperson. We therefore recommend that the NCOP and the NA speed up the process of drafting the amending bill to this effect. Chairperson, the rest of the submissions, the committee has considered them in full, and we would also like to highlight one submission 17 on local government, on local government association, which they, amongst others, requested full rights to participate in the NCOP. The committee, in its considered view, has not recommended amendments to the Constitution to that effect. And the submission, with the rest of the recommendations, Chair, as highlighted above, the committee is recommending that there should not be any amendments to as requested by the submitters. And we want to, in conclusion, Chair, thank the committee members for giving their time and effort to make sure that they give expression to the imperative of the Constitution of allowing the citizens of this country to have an opportunity to review and submit matters that concern them to the Constitution for review as demanded. And that strengthens the democracy, Chair, and allows the participation of the community. We thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Nzimande. That concludes the debate. I shall now put the question. The question is that the report be agreed to in accordance with Rule 7.1. I shall first allow provinces the opportunity to make declaration of vote if they so wish. We now proceed to voting on the question. I shall do this in alphabetical order. Eastern Cape.
Eastern Cape iyavumelana nereport isihlalo.
Free State.
Free State siyavuma sir.
Gauteng.
Gauteng agrees.
KwaZulu Natal.
Siyavuma.
Limpopo.
Siyavuma sihlalo.
Mpumalanga.
Agreed.
Northern Cape,
Siyayisekela sihlalo.
Northwest,
We accept, Chair.
Western Cape,
Western Cape agrees, Chairperson.
Thank you. 9 provinces voted in favor. I therefore declare the report agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. The Secretary will read the fourth order of the day.
Consideration of report of Select Committee on Finance, 2017 revised fiscal framework.
Honorable members, I would like to bring to your attention that the report of the Select Committee has since been reprinted and the copy is available to all members. However, I want to inform the House that the report that the Select Committee has adopted has not changed. What changed is that a staff in printing the report has made an error which they had since corrected. So, Honorable Pierre.
Honorable Chairperson, honorable members and special delegates, on the 25th of October, the Minister of Finance tabled the MTBBS in the National Assembly, and it included a revised fiscal framework and a proposed fiscal framework for the next 3 years called the MTF. On the 26th of October, the Minister, the DG, and the senior managers, staff officials in the department gave a technical overview of the MTBBS. The key message in the MTBBS was that the country's economic situation was dire and required tough decisions to be made to turn it around. The Minister said it's a concern that the global and regional economies, including sub-Saharan Africa, had recovered and were now growing, but the South Africa's economy remained muted and subdued. Section 3 of the report refers to the detail of the revised fiscal framework for the financial year 2017-2018 and also the proposed the fiscal framework for the outer years 2018 until 2021. On the 1st of November, public hearings were held and
Honorable
submissions-
Matebula. Order, sorry, Honorable Deeper. Honorable Matebula. Let's have order in the House. Continue, Honorable Deeper.
And submissions were made by COSATU, the Public and Environmental Research Center, that's at the University of Johannesburg, the Fiscal Cliff Study Group from WITS, United Nations Children's Fund, and the individual Mr. Mike Nkosi. I now turn to the observations and recommendations, Honorable Chairperson. Issues related to the 2017-18 revised fiscal framework overlap with the issues to the proposed fiscal framework for the MTF period. The committee notes the adjustments of the budget from 1.409 trillion rand to 1.413 trillion rand, leading to an increase in the expenditure for the 2017-18 budget. Much of this increases was directed at bailing out SOEs and reinforces the committee's concern that there needs to be stringent conditions set for these bailouts and that these should, as far as possible, be tabled in Parliament. In these extremely challenging economic times, it's obviously difficult to have a redistributive budget. We welcome the Minister's commitment to retain social spending. The low economic growth means that there will be a 50.8 billion shortfall in tax revenue, and we note that borrowing will shoot up, with nearly 15% of the budget being spent on servicing debt by 2020-2021. This means that more than ever, we have to focus on the quality and efficiency of spending more decisively and quickly root out wastage and corruption and strengthen SARS revenue collection capacity. The committee agrees that SARS also needs to be more effectively capacitated and more efficient in its work. It also needs to far more efficiently tackle illicit financial flows, including through working with other state agencies. It also needs to more actively address a decline in public confidence in SARS. decrease in tax compliance amongst taxpayers, and a decline in tax morality. Revenue shortfalls have become, a risk to the fiscal outlook, and a committee recommends that SARS and National Treasury report more pointedly and in greater depth on progress in revenue collection when it meets with us on a quarterly basis. The committee is seriously concerned that the percentage of debt to GDP is projected to reach 60% in the last year of the 2017 MTF period. The committee recommends that Treasury should develop and implement a credible debt management strategy over the short to medium term to effectively manage and monitor the debt trap and report quarterly to the Finance Committee. In addition to providing fiscal certainty, the Minister of Finance should indicate the timeframes and levels of which debt is expected to stabilize. The committee notes that the Minister says that debt to GDP ratio need not reach 60%, provided government takes decisive actions and structural reform. This cannot be done by National Treasury alone, Chairperson, but government as a whole. The committee appreciates the progress made by the Treasury implementing cost containment measures since 2012-2013 financial year and notes that further cost-cutting measures may compromise service delivery in departments. Executives across all three spheres of government would certainly reduce the cost, and this is being attended to by the Appropriations Committee. In the light of the current expenditure breach of 3.9 billion rand, National Treasury should implement a comprehensive spending review to identify savings areas, including a review of programs in government departments that have over a reasonable period of time failed to achieve their intended objectives, and the reduction of dual functions between line departments and implementing agencies, and enhance oversight over these agencies. The South African economy has been performing at a rate that is relatively lower than the regional counterparts, including sub-Saharan Africa. This implies that the challenge to our situation are largely domestic. A rigorous implementation of the 9-point plan and the Minister of Finance 14 confidence boosting measures is required to restore consumer, business, and investor confidence in the short to medium term and stimulate economic activity. The committee notes with concern National Treasury's reduction of the contingency reserves over the MTF. We believe that this leaves a limited room for unforeseen expenses. We note further the usage of contingency reserves together with underspent funds to bail out SAA and to manage the widening budget deficit. The use of unspent funds could compromise government's frontline service delivery. We note the extension of SAA's debt by local financial institutions that has come at an increased interest rate. While the committees has been informed about the conditions set by these institutions in order to extend debt to SAA, we request more information on the revised interest rates and on plans to ensure that the repayment rates do not expose SAA to further liquidity pressures. The committee strongly believes that there should be far more stringent conditions set for any financial support to SOEs. We welcome the Minister's commitment to ensure far more effective government oversight of SOEs, appointing effective board members. I want to add expertise, ensuring that boards appoint competent managers. I include expertise, tackling wastage and corruption, and very crucial, acting against those who do not perform. Chairperson, 95% of the wealth of our country, South Africa, is in the hands of 10% of the population. This is completely unacceptable and reinforces the need for radical economic transformation that benefits all our people, primarily the poor and disadvantaged. The promotion of black industrials program is an important part of this. The decision to introduce the public procurement bill in 2018 to provide for disadvantaged strata of our society, including the youth, will also contribute to radical economic transformation. National Treasury have to improve its monitoring and on the outstanding unpaid bills of provinces which entered the current fiscal year with a 26.4 billion rand of unpaid bills from the prior year, and this has led to a rising hidden deficit. We also recommend that Treasury cracks down more on unauthorized expenditure, irregular, wasteful and fruitless expenditure, as this puts unnecessary pressure on the fiscus. Chairperson, in conclusion, we express our appreciation to those who made submissions during the public hearings. The committee support UNICEF's plea that government should continue to support social spending and will refer UNICEF's submissions to the committees on appropriations in the NCOP for further consideration. We welcome the Minister's statement that procrastination and dithering must end. We must demonstrate decisive leadership. We support his statement that government must improve its productivity and decisiveness. And I want to add the ethics of work. Chairperson, I hereby table the report for consideration by the House. I so move. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable De Pierre. That concludes the debate. I shall now put the question. The question is that the report we agreed to, in accordance with Rule 7.1, I shall allow provinces the opportunity to make declaration of vote if they so wish. Western Cape.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I want to start with the issue that you raised. The DA is very concerned that a mere 3 hours before the session started that we got another report sent to us, and we haven't been able to prepare properly for that. We did send a letter to the chairperson of this House, and we're still awaiting a report. Chairperson, Minister Malusi Gigaba tabled his medium-term budget policy statement on the 25th of October 2017 in Parliament and confirmed what the majority of South Africans were already fearing. They feared that South Africa would enter deepening economic woes due to current embedded state capture, corruption, mismanagement, and lack of leadership within our state. We know by now that their fear was not unfounded, taking the following into account. A 50.8 billion shortfall in tax revenue anticipated, borrowing shooting up, resulting that nearly 15% of the budget will be spent to service debt service cost by 2020-21. The adjustment of the budget from 1.409 trillion to 1.413 trillion, mainly to bail out SOEs. A budget deficit of 4.3, up from 3.3% the previous year. A downward revised growth rate of only 0.7% for this financial year, as opposed to the 1.3% expected in the main budget in February. Honourable Chairperson, the revised fiscal framework reflects the mismanagement of the economy under the leadership of Mr. Jacob Zuma. This mismanagement was amplified since Mr. Malusi Gigaba was appointed as the Minister of Finance. The numbers clearly shows that. Supporting revised fiscal framework is essentially the same as supporting public funds, the money of ordinary South Africans, being wasted to bail out SAA to the tune of approximately 10 billion rand. the full effect of the mismanagement is not fully reflected in looking at the deficit, which amount to 203 billion in this framework, or total government debt amounting to 2.5 trillion. Craftfully hidden in the framework is also the contingency reserves for this financial year. That has been completely wiped out. In this revised fiscal framework, there is a clear shift away from
Honorable Teplans, I'm afraid your time has expired.
Just enough time to say, Chairperson, the Western Cape does not support this.
The
Thank you.
declaration, honorable members, it's strictly 3 minutes. Any other province to do declaration of vote? Okay. We shall now proceed to voting on the question. I shall do it in alphabetical order. Eastern Cape,
Eastern Cape iyavumelana sihlalo.
Free State,
Free State iyavuma se.
Gauteng,
Gauteng supports.
KwaZulu Natal, Limpopo,
Limpopo siyavuma.
Mpumalanga,
Fully concur.
Northern Cape,
Northern Cape supports.
Northwest,
We agree, Chair.
Western Cape.
We don't support, Chairperson.
8 provinces voted in favor. I therefore declare the report agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. The Secretary will read the 5th order of the day.
Consideration of analytical report taking Parliament to the People Programme, Free State 2017.
I'll take this opportunity once again to welcome our special delegates, MECs, and extend the invitation to the Honorable Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces to open the debate, Honorable Modise.
Thank you, Chairperson, special delegates, honorable members. The NCOP is constitutionally required to deepen democracy, to make laws that are just and implementable, to enable and ensure public participation, and to hold the executive to account to ensure good governance. Currently, the NCOP is the only house of parliament that has been given the responsibility to receive, to process, and to see through all petitions. We went to the Kharib district around the 15th to the 19th of May. Our research was confirmed. Water and sanitation was indeed a major challenge. The district is largely unemployed, and the majority survive on grants. The majority was unable to pay for rates and taxes, and therefore the municipality fails to pay off its debts with Bloom Water. This results in water controls that infringe on the rights of school children and of patients at the various clinics in that district. We noted that the cleanliness at most of the sites, as well as the shortage of staff, shortage of emergency transportation for patients, equipments, and we also noted that most of the sites needed to be maintained properly. We noted, Chairperson, when we first went to Kharib, the reluctance of our colleagues in the province to our visit. But we were actually very happy in August when we noted that we worked well together as colleagues on the taking Parliament to the people proper and on holding hands to keep the executive on account. Our visits to the various sites confirmed the need for maintenance spend to be reassessed. There is a need to upgrade some of the clinics. There is also a need to be central there is also a need to have a central place where all medical equipments are repaired or serviced. We also noted that although there are staff shortages, and although there are also complaints about staff attitudes, that most of the patients also were very warm towards the different members of the nursing in other clinics, because we actually noticed that there were old nurses, dedicated nurses, people who were giving of themselves to ensure that these clinics were kept clean and that people were helped. We want to say that as the NCOP, we should urge a rethink on the patient's transportation policy in the province. We think it is an issue. We also think that there must be a turnaround strategy on the 4-roomed converted clinics situation. Those are the ones that we inherited from the former homelands. We think that these are small and do not provide equal privacy that the patients need, but also most of them are dilapidated by now. We think that there must be a will to restore the dignity of the people in the townships of the Free State. We have seen seeping and sewage. We have also had people who appeared in front of us during that week at the plenary complaining about seeping sewage in their backyards. We have had old people, youngsters, people on wheelchairs complaining about rocky backyards and rocky streets, which made it impossible for some of them to be passable. We noted that the number of people who came to us were on wheelchairs which were completely out. We were, of course, quite pleased and chuffed that between the Minister of Health and the Minister of Social Development, like that, the wheelchairs could go to the people. We want to urge that people must not only get these wheelchairs when we are there. We want to urge that there is a systematic way of repairing and replacing wheelchairs in the provinces in general, not only when NCOP or grand government occasions happen. We also wanted to say that we also noticed that the MEC made commitments and in fact also popped out a number of wheelchairs to the people. MECs, we want to thank you, but we also think that that system of replacement and repairs and in fact training the people with disabilities themselves to do the repairs might come in very handy. We also to note that the Albert Nzula District Hospital was officially opened. We note the housing challenges. We were quite upset to see old people and people living with disabilities crying to us, asking for help, either because they are too old and poor to repair the houses they occupy, or because the RDPs that were given to them are in a state of unhealth. We also noted that, especially the people from Botabansu, noted that the old houses are also crumbling. We also took note of the old people who said that the houses seem to have been built on water tables which are rising, and therefore they were unable to afford to move or to treat the wet and the damp of the houses. We think this calls for us as the NCOP to urge government to have a re-look and a rethink at the distribution of RDP to the indigents without a maintenance plan. The distribution of the same houses to the old people who would never ever again be able to afford to repair these houses. We think it is something that we need to look at, because if we don't do that, it means we are confining the people who need the most help from the state into living in unhygienic and dangerous houses. We noted concerns by the citizens that they suspected that they were not taken seriously, they were not being afforded the same services simply because they were in the areas which used to be Buputazwan. We feel that this is not okay, that this must be corrected, that all South Africans are equal, all South Africans must get the same benefit irrespective of what they believed in or what they were exposed to. We listened to complaints by the public about lack of economic opportunities, the youth, the disabled. We also listened to young people begging the state to give them opportunities to prove that they can improve their own lives. We accept that the Free State, more than other provinces, has done quite a lot in giving bursaries to the youngsters. But we would like to say that we must ensure that young people are not dependent on the state, that they can work for what they premise their futures on. We also want to say that we, as the NCOP, received a number of complaints by the public on bad business practices and on the behavior of banks towards the citizens, and on issues which happen at the shop floor, the unfair treatment by the workers. We want to say that we have not forgotten these issues, we are following up. We listened to the presentation by the people of disabilities chairperson, telling us about how they usually get ignored or are misdiagnosed and given wrong treatments simply because they are deaf, or simply because they are disabled and unable to move in the queues. We think that we need to do something. It is a shame for any country to say there is democracy, there is equality, and yet fails to look after the most vulnerable amongst itself. Our Constitution sets out principles of fairness and human dignity for all. The International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights underscores that the state has a duty to address the underlying determinants of health, such as access to potable water and adequate sanitation. We think that the state has an obligation to ensure that people have clean water. We do know that the state has a policy on the indigent. We do know that if you refuse to give the indigent potable water, and you have promised them the basics of these services, that you are infringing on their rights. And therefore we ask that our Committee on Petitions starts by being very, very, very vigorous. We also know that the World Health Organization urges countries to spend at least 5% of their GDP on their health. We know that South Africa spends 8.3%, but we need to find out whether we are doing the right thing, because countries that spend far less than we do on their health systems seem to get better results than South Africa. And therefore, maybe it is time we looked at how and on what we are expending our monies. We need to remember, honorable members, that we cannot be free until every member is free. We cannot say we are on the fast track economic radical transformation. It is not radical unless it takes the speed of the slowest amongst us in the communities. And I want to say that we need to take heart what Margaret Mead, a well-known anthropologist, said. He said, never doubt that a small group of people, thoughtful and committed citizens, can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that has ever changed the world. We all need to play our part collectively to ensure that the people indeed get their quality of lives improved. Ngiyabonga, Tata.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister of Health, Honorable Phahla.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson of the session. And also, let me pass my regards and thanks also to the Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP, Honorable Tandi Modise, who just spoke now. Colleagues, MEC for Health from the Free State Province, Honorable Khompela. Also MEC for Agriculture and Rural Development from Mpumalanga Province, Honorable Shongwe, and honorable members, permanent members, and also special delegates of the NCOP, the chairperson of the Select Committee on Social Services, Honorable Dlamini, and members of the Select Committee, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Dumelang. We as Ministry of Health are pleased to participate in this debate. We have indeed taken time to peruse the report from the NCOP on the 2017 Taking Parliament to the People of Mangaung Metro in the Free State Province. In my introduction here today, I'll briefly highlight the findings as they pertain to the Health Department and share with you some of the interventions in maintaining the areas where there is good performance and also indicating what interventions are we making together with the province to address the weaknesses. The parliamentary team visited health facilities in Mangaung Metro from the 19th to the 23rd of June 2017 as part of Taking Parliament to the People program. The report of this visit, based on input from the communities and also from staff at the facilities, provide a detailed analysis of the condition of these facilities, as well as the perceptions of the services delivered from the users. The NCOP visit and the report contribute to the ongoing quality improvement program for our department on national, provincial, district, and also at the local facility levels. Taking Parliament to the People adds another dimension to monitoring and evaluation of the services provided to South Africans. An analysis of the weaknesses identified in the facilities visited by the parliamentary team can be grouped in the following areas: physical infrastructure of buildings, surroundings, and amenities as one; maintenance of buildings, service areas, fittings, equipment, and furniture; staffing of these facilities; lack of security at facilities which affect both staff and patients; supply chain weaknesses, areas such as the pharmaceuticals, that's medicines, other consumables, and other basic equipment; governance structures, long waiting times at these facilities; poor patient record management; and lastly, lengthy response times in terms of emergency services. With regard to infrastructure, our department provides support through joint implementation and monitoring. In this regard, two key programs are: one, the Ideal Clinic, and the second program, Hospital Revitalization Program. On the Ideal Clinic program, we attend to improvement of infrastructure, staffing, administrative processes, availability of medicines and equipment. The national framework is implemented by the provinces, but we have a national framework in terms of the Ideal Clinic. The National Department of Health monitors progress with recommendations for accelerated improvement. In 2012, when the program of Ideal Clinic was starting, none of the clinics which were evaluated complied with the standards, but we are pleased to say that there's been steady movement in this regard, to the extent that already by end of 2015, 9% of the clinics were compliant with the Ideal Clinic standard, and by end of August, with recommendation for accelerated improvement were required. Examples in this case, in the case of rehabilitation, would include in Dihlabeng, Pelonomi, and Boitumelo hospitals. In order to ensure that we are able to recruit and retain health professionals in the public health sector, the National Department, as part of the public service retention of professional staff, introduced the occupational specific remuneration model that acknowledges experience and skills, making provision for career pathing and longer salary bands. We also embarked on a process to expand training platforms for medical doctors to ensure that a sizable number of health professionals are produced to meet the increasing demand. We've also increased bursary models which have been developed across all provinces to recruit students who are performing well in mathematics and science, so those who will be eligible to study in the health professions. The department, through the National Health Council, is working with provinces to implement the most suitable model for ensuring optimal security in all our health facilities. We have different models operating in different provinces. Some use insourcing, staff who are part and parcel of the staff of the department within the public service. Others use outsourcing, but we have a process whereby we want to migrate into a common system which will make sure that there's common standards in terms of the provision of security at our health facilities. So this is something which we are working on with all provinces, and we should be able to conclude the model quite soon. The National Department continues to work with provinces and districts to improve the supply chain management bottlenecks for the provision of health resources, including essential health equipment, essential medicines, and other supplies to health facilities through some of the following initiatives, amongst others. In as far as pharmaceuticals are concerned, we have what is called the stock visibility system, which is currently mainly used for ARVs, TB drugs, and vaccines, but we're expanding to all other medical supplies. This system has been rolled out to all facilities in the country, except the Western Cape province, which decided to use their own system. The rollout is part of the government strategy in order to monitor and resolve medicine stock outs at our clinics through a partnership of a system through which we are supported also by Vodacom. This innovative system uses mobile phones to manage the stock. This allows us to know when a clinic is low on stock and to ensure that orders are placed before the clinic runs out of stock. On the ideal clinic comprehensive catalog, there's a comprehensive catalog which has been developed in cooperation with National Treasury and provincial health departments. The catalog consists of standard equipment and health commodities, as well as the transversal contracts through which an item can be procured. The availability of the ideal clinic catalog will promote quicker procurement of equipment and supplies through transversal contracts instead of sourcing on quotations. The catalog is designed with the following categories: category of health technology, medical equipment, surgical supplies, stationery, furniture and related items, point of care diagnostic equipment such as testing for glucose, hemoglobin and so on, cleaning material, and even for the look and feel of the facility, garden materials. Through the National Supply Chain Forum, the provinces were mobilized to ensure availability of funds in the 2017-18 financial year, as well as outer years of the MTF, for the procurement of essential equipment, also including signage material, because we also want to make sure that everybody can be able to identify where there's a health facility. We agree with the NCOP report that clinic committees also have an important function to play in the management of the health facilities by promoting accountability, positive experience by members of health committees with regard to their contribution, and the direct correlation with health outcomes. They serve as a link between households, communities, civil society, health sector, and also the political authorities, provide monitoring and feedback, mobilize participation and togetherness, and also sharing and dissemination of information. At the department, we value the role that health committee members play, especially in monitoring the functionality of our facilities and is part and parcel of our ideal clinic model. For health governance structures to be successful in their roles, there has to be a program of training and induction, and this we are doing together with the provinces. And the National Health, in collaboration with the Health Systems Trust, has developed a range of documents to assist capacity building of these committees. This includes facilitation manual to be used by trainers for capacity building of both healthcare staff and members of the health governance structures. Training manual which provides all the material required to train relevant stakeholders. And lastly, a pocket handbook for ease of reference, especially focusing on management of health governance structures. With regard to the emergency services, Honorable Chairperson and members, response times in the Free State Department reports that currently the response time in the urban areas is at 15 minutes. Compliance with this is currently only at 67%. And in rural areas where the response time standard is 40 minutes, compliance is at 80%. Mangaung has a high call volume with the response time of 15 minutes being achieved only at 53%, which is not acceptable. This is further complicated by a greater proportion, up to 45% of the calls being between facilities, which generally take longer to complete in terms of emergency response. To alleviate the situation, the province is currently looking at procuring well over 60 ambulances in order to alleviate the pressure. I'm sure MEC Kompela might have something to say also in addition to this. To address poor management of patient records, which contributes to long waiting time, the Department of Health is implementing the Health Patient Registration System. Further interventions to reduce waiting time include the centralized chronic medicine dispensing and distribution system. This health patient registration system has been rolled out to a total of currently over 2,200 clinics out of our almost 3,500 clinics in the country. The national database has registered just over 11.7 million people, 1.3 million of this being in the Free State, and just under 300,000 in Mangaung. These patients have all been allocated unique patient identifying numbers. The system continues to be rolled out and brings the following advantages: streamlined patient registration, one patient entry point, one reception area, one registration on the one software. This increasingly contributes to a reduction in the waiting times because there's a shortened time in terms of retrieval of the records, improve the accuracy of patients' records and the quality of health services, enables the tracking of patients through the healthcare system irrespective of which province the patient is registered in, creating an enabling environment towards finally coming up with a national electronic patient record system. So this is just the earlier part of that. The chronic medicine distribution system is also one of those. Through this system, what we do is make sure that patients who are stable, chronic patients who are stable, can be able to receive their medication at nearer points. They don't have to go to health facilities. And this is helping also to reduce the clogging of the system at the health facilities. So as I conclude, Honorable Chair, I want to assure the Honorable House that as a Department and Ministry of Health, we are indeed committed to work with our colleagues in the provinces, as well with national and provincial treasuries and other departments, to unlock resources required to scale up interventions required to improve the quality of service in all our facilities. I thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Thank you, Deputy Minister. Let me take this opportunity after receiving the note. We'll always do it on behalf of the chairperson and all the members to wish Honorable Gaila and Honorable Chief Whip many more happy years. It's their birthday today. Honorable Zwane.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable members, special delegates, let me take this opportunity to participate in this debate by firstly referring to a quotation by Amilcar Cabral, who was one of Africa's foremost revolutionary leaders, who said, and I quote, "Always bear in mind that the people are not fighting for ideas, for the things in anyone's head. They are fighting to win material benefits, to live better and in peace, to see their lives go forward, to guarantee the future of their children," close quotation. And as such, the ANC-led government has continued to put in place sustainable measures to deliver on our strategic mandate of delivering basic services to the people of the country and ensuring the ethos of Matsupili. Parliament's strategic vision is to build an effective people's parliament that is responsive to the needs of the people and that is driven by the ideal of realizing a better quality of life for all the people of South Africa. And its mission is to represent and act as a voice of the people in fulfilling Parliament's constitutional function of passing laws and overseeing executive performance. And in the process of doing this, Parliament is guided by the values of openness, responsiveness, teamwork, accountability, professionalism, and integrity. As far back as 2002, the people-centered ANC-led Parliament, through its National Council of Provinces, initiated the Taking Parliament to the People program to give South Africans the opportunity to see how Parliament works, and to afford people an opportunity to participate in parliamentary processes. This year's program took place in Mangaung Metropolitan Municipality in the Free State, with a specific focus on health services and other related matters. During the program, health facilities were visited, and one of the key observations during the visits was evidently the fact that the state of infrastructure for health is not good in a number of the clinics. Maybe it is important to give background as to why is it that we find ourselves in that kind of state of affairs. The pre-1994 South African government, through its apartheid policies, developed a healthcare system which was sustained through the years by the promulgation of racist legislation and the creation of institutions such as political and statutory bodies for the control of health care professions and facilities. These institutions and facilities were built and managed with a specific aim of sustaining racial segregation and discrimination in health care services. That is why when we visited the Free State, we found that a number of facilities were actually old houses that were converted to become clinics, to be used by our own people, because the number of people...
Sorry, Honorable Mangete. Let me... Honorable Rule?
32.
Rule 32.
Yeah.
Okay.
A member is not allowed to converse aloud. Chairperson, I'm not talking to you, white man. Chairperson, blacks cannot be racist.
Honorable
That's
Kone.
stupidity at its best.
Honorable Kone.
Chairperson, Honorable Wana has been making noise. And just about when the House was about to start or had started, you called Honorable Matebula to order and she was talking to me, but she was not as loud as Honorable Wana is. So I don't know if it's because she's in a red overall that you had to threaten her by calling her to order, because that sounded like a threat.
Let me.
Honorable Wana is being left to make noise, to howl, and after that she will be sleeping. When she wakes up, she will continue again.
Honorable Kone, take your seat so that I make a ruling. On your first statement, we are correct in terms of Rule 32. Members are not allowed to be conversing aloud. That is correct. But for the House to be vibrant at the same time, heckling is allowed, but you are not allowed to drown the speaker that is at the podium. So on that one, we'll be very consistent. So can you continue, Rol Manget?
The net result of the apartheid laws with respect to healthcare services resulted in a highly fragmented, biased towards curative care rather than preventative approach. Inefficiency, and a system that was inequitable. So the ANC-led government taking over had to do the mopping up. Any ANC policy has always been biased towards the working class and has placed the marginalized and the poor at its center. The 53rd National Conference of the ANC reaffirmed this and resolved that health should be one of the two key priorities of government, envisioned in the second phase of transition. The visit to the Free State was looking to a variety of issues, but one particular issue, as I have said, that was actually a worry to the delegation is the issue of infrastructure. This is a challenge that is bedeviling our health system, not only in the Free State, but in certain specific parts of the country as well. Health facilities in the Mangaung Metro and Harib district, for instance, reported defects and maintenance backlogs, which included poor plumbing, poor infrastructural pipes for water, disruptions in the water services, therefore making it difficult at times for the clinics to be able to operate, poor ablution facilities, non-functional boilers in some of the institutions, air conditioning that was not working consistently. You would find that it works on some days and it doesn't work on some other days, posing a challenge whereby one would actually doubt if the medication that is kept there is in good order. The NCOP delegation observed several other maintenance challenges with regards to the pharmacies, which varied from inadequate medicine storage space and also limited space that is used as a waiting area for the patients. The safety issues, where you find that in some of the facilities, there are no placards, there are no safety gates. Hospitals in the province also did equally experience the infrastructure challenges, and they had severe defects like the hospital at Plenary Tertiary Hospital. In essence, Plenary challenges are linked to its linear structure and outdated infrastructure, affecting its electrical and plumbing capacity. An area also that is requiring attention is the Free State Psychiatric Complex that was said not to be compliant with the norms and standards of that kind of a structure. As a way forward, the NCOP, having looked at these particular challenges that are related to the infrastructure, there were many other challenges relating to human resources. The Deputy Minister did allude to them. What is pleasing is that we made recommendations as the NCOP, and when we had an engagement with the executive, where the community also from all the areas was there, the executive authority of the Free State, led by the Premier, did make an undertaking that they are going to work together to ensure that the issues that were raised by the NCOP contained in the report that has been forwarded to the department are going to be taken up. And they even committed to the timeframes and to the effect that they are going to be sending reports to the NCOP from time to time as a follow-up in ensuring that what the NCOP raised are issues that are going to be taken seriously. It was also pleasing to note that the engagement.
Mhlonishwa Mangethe, sicela ukuxolisa ukuthi isikhathi siphelile.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Honorable Mikalakis.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I sensed a bit of fear running down the spines of those who have. Honourable House Chairperson, he's now disappeared, but Honourable Deputy Minister, I wanted to say to him that it was good to see him here today. In our meeting this morning, he didn't pitch, and it was said that he was in Polokwane with the Minister himself. He got here very quickly, so I'm glad to see him this afternoon. Honourable House Chairperson, this year's Parliament to the People programme focused on the Free State and mainly issues in the province which is of much concern regarding health. Let me from the onset say that were it not for the immensely capable and dedicated staff in our hospitals and clinics in the province, things would have looked much, much worse. Allow me then to highlight some of the major concerns that we have experienced during the pre-visits and the programme itself in this field within the province. Concerns that are by no means insignificant and which deserve the department's attention. We have seen a facility such as the Albert Nzula Hospital in Tromsburg that was not operational as a hospital proper at the time of the visit. Although it is indeed functioning as a clinic, after remaining vacant for years, it is not functioning as the hospital that it was designed to be. I regret to say that despite the NCOP's visit, this facility is still not operational as a hospital, but rather as a clinic, since its official opening in June this year. It is functioning as a clinic, but it's supposed to be a hospital. It would seem that the biggest problem experienced at the Albert Nzula Hospital is staff appointments, which the provincial department simply cannot afford. We have reached a point where the department has to acknowledge that despite its best efforts, it does not have the capacity to run this hospital as it was intended to be run, at least not for the foreseeable future. And if this much needed facility is to function the way it's supposed to function, drastic steps need to be taken to finance it properly. Another source of major concern throughout the district and in fact the province is a serious shortage of staff and resources such as ambulances. With regards to the latter, it's a concern that the contract with the Buthelezi ambulances has lapsed in August 2017 already. These ambulances currently drive around on a month-to-month contract basis, we are told, but no effort has yet been made to put out a proper tender to ensure that there are a sufficient amount of ambulances servicing the province. With regards to the former, staff shortages, it's a real concern that individuals who work for the department in the province have to work excessively hard because of a lack of staff. At the Free State Psychiatric Hospital, we found that the norm of 3 patients for every 1 nursing staff member has increased to a ratio of 30 patients to every staff member. In some cases, a single sister had to look after 3 wards. That is 1 nursing staff member for 90 patients. This whilst they do not get paid overtime nor danger pay as is required. Honourable House Chairperson, the morale of these staff members are low. They are dedicated, sincere, and brilliant in what they do. They deserve to be taken care of. In other medical facilities, such as Plenary Hospital in Mangaung, we found that due to a lack of medical practitioners, operations cannot take place. In the orthopedic department, people literally die before they can be operated in some cases. When there finally is an opportunity to operate, something is constantly the matter, whether it is a lack of water, air conditioning, operation tables, you name it. This is not an ideal environment for doctors, and even less so for desperate patients who rely on the state to provide them with essential medical care. Chairperson, I do not solely blame the Provincial Department of Health for this catastrophe. In many instances, there's just as much, if not more, blame to be placed on the Department of Public Works for not cooperating on being committed to the maintenance of our medical facilities. This needs to be mended. With regards to the department itself, there are a few concerns with regards to its financial management. Although much has improved since the dark days of Dr. Death Benny Malokwane, much still needs to be done to save this department from the financial and operational mess that it has deteriorated into under the current premiership. The recent outflux of doctors at our medical facilities in the Free State is, of course, also one of the greatest concerns, which I think I share with the MEC. Once this trust is broken, it's a very difficult one to restore, and regardless of any deals Premier Magashule might have made with the Cuban government, I would ideally like to see more local doctors employed at our facilities. The outflux can also solely be ascribed to the fact that our medical practitioners have not been treated with the necessary courtesy that you would afford people who dedicate their lives to the service of others. We need to recreate a culture of caring for the people who are employed by the state, and in this department in particular, if we wish to move forward. Because without their trust and their commitment, there is no way forward. Chairperson, it is at this point where I want to give a rare compliment to the political head of this department. MEC Kompela has inherited a department which was at some point described by us all at the pre-visits, whether it was ANC or opposition members, as a nightmare. He is trying to improve it, and he has always been available when we have called upon him with some issue. For this we commend and thank him. No MEC should ever be tasked with such a dilemma by his own party if it could have been prevented by appointing the right people in the first place. We are making progress, albeit slowly. Only such an example is the serious lack of medication that faced the province months ago, which has to some extent been addressed, although it can still be improved. If the HOD could show the same commitment as the MEC, rather than entering into problematic contracts, such as the Regenesis Biotechnologies contract, which was halted by the South African Medical Board, we could see even further improvements. Chairperson, health is not a luxury. It is a basic need that every person in the province of the Free State and in the country should be afforded. But we first need to get the basics right. We need to acknowledge that there are some serious problems within the health system of the Free State, and we need to address them urgently. If the provincial government fails to do so, it will be the most vulnerable of our people that they would have failed. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Karakis. Honorable Sibia.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I agree. I think it's important that we acknowledge the challenges that were identified when we paid a visit in Free State. But I think also it's not all doom and gloom, as long as we still have the governing party being in charge of this government. I believe we'll be able to manage and resolve any challenge that we're faced with. Honorable Chair, standing here in this house under the theme, which when we visited Free State, where the theme that was saying celebrating 20 years of the Constitution and 20 years since the establishment of the NCOP Deepening Parliamentary Oversight for Quality Services to our people. Chairperson, the theme of this nature is indicative of progressive and successful journey this country and its people have traveled under the leadership of the ANC. It is now history that this was once a white-ruled country which we come from. Today, Chairperson, we're having a country that is ruled by the black majority who are trying by all means to make sure that they reverse and change what has been there and what was done before. We'll remember that, Honorable Chair, that the budget that we used to have before was only catered for. Almost 80% of it was only for whites. But today, this government of the day is able to use the budget that is having to make sure that it caters for everyone who lives in this country. And with such a budget, we are able to stretch ourselves in trying to improve the lives of our people and making sure that their lives are better than what they used to be. Honorable Chair, we must never forget that the struggles that we fought over decades under difficult conditions, where a black man had to die and suffer to attain his freedom, and the Constitution we talk about today, we were never in vain, because today we are able to stand here and be able to pass laws and make laws, but also play oversight on the work that is being done by this government. That shouldn't have happened if we didn't have this ANC, and our people still believe it can still change their lives. If we didn't have such a great revolutionary movement, Honorable Chair, by the name of the ANC, we wouldn't be standing here celebrating the 20 years of the Constitution and 20 years of this great house, the NCOP, and its existence, which we fully understand the role of it's playing in making sure that our people get the services that they deserve, which are better and of high quality. The existence of the NCOP on its own is a clear indicative of what the ANC wanted to see moving forward. It wanted to see accountability taking place, it wanted to see services being delivered, but also to make sure that there is proper oversight and monitoring over the monies of our people. Honorable Chairperson, today I think it will be wrong of me, after all has been said about Free State, but I think it's important that we also raise some of the matters that impact in our Constitution and the democracy that we have fought for, as the theme was very clear on what it was about. Honorable Chair, we are coming from the 2 weeks, in fact, a disgusting and a ridiculous 2 weeks where we saw some people participating in a march that was called a Black Monday March. In the midst, there were white racists who still dream of the past, where it was about them and only them. We saw them blocking our main roads, flying a very degrading, stupid flag of the apartheid past, which represents nothing but Afrikaner supremacy and undermines everything that this country stands for. Chairperson, we want to say to them, you are living a lie. This country will never be under the hands of white racist minority. No matter what happens, but racists will be defeated hands down in this country. My advice to them, Chairperson, is that they just simply ban those disgusting flags and join us in building a united, prosperous South Africa and nothing else. Honorable Chair, I'm mentioning this, Chairperson, because we are celebrating 20 years of our Constitution, which is very important, which provides rights for everyone to express himself or herself, but in a responsible way. What we saw there made some of us to see the danger that we are in and the necessity for all of us in this country to close ranks and make sure that no one comes between us and divides us and take us back to where we are coming from.
Chairperson, our visit to Free State was part of the commitment that this government has with its people, making sure that there is quality services delivered to its people. We visited many health institutions and met many people in that province. One thing I can say, Chairperson, standing here after the Chairperson of the NCOP and the Deputy Minister and the other members, Mamzwane, they've expressed exactly what we found in Free State. I can't differ with them, and I don't want to lament. It's the reality that is on the ground. But all, Chairperson, is not lost, because when we interacted with the people of Free State, you can see that they are appreciative of the work that has been done over the years. They acknowledge that there are challenges, but also they appreciate that there is a lot of work that has been done. They do get services under difficult conditions. Some services are good, it's a reality, but there are challenges that needs to be addressed. We can't say all is lost. There is good work that is being done in the Free State as well. And we believe there is a lot of space and room for them to improve. With the intervention of the NCOP, we believe the recommendations that were recommended will be used and be implemented. If such is implemented, Chairperson, I can assure you there will be a great change. We'll see a different picture altogether, especially on the ground when it comes, in particular when it comes to primary health care and the access to primary health care. Because I agree that the clinics, the nature of clinics and the conditions, there is a need to make sure that there is intervention there. The infrastructure, there are serious challenges. When you talk about issues of security in clinics and hospital, in particular in clinics, I think there is a need to provide security in the clinics of Free State. But also the issues of staffing, whether you talk about pharmacists, you talk about professional nurses, there is a need for intervention in making sure that the government is able to provide services for the people of Free State. The people of Free State are part of South Africa, and they deserve better, in particular under this government. And I believe there will be a change. The MEC, there is a commitment, I agree, and we know that the MEC is a very vibrant MEC, full of energy. He will make sure that there is a change that we see in Free State. Honorable Chair, we say the ANC remains on course in keeping and meeting its contract with the people of this country. Nothing will stand on our way in changing the lives of our people. We are marching forward now very clear on what we need to do in order to fast-track change and speedily bettering the lives of our people. We say it's time we take drastic steps to change the ownership of land in this country. Without land, we are nothing. We need land to be in the hands of the majority of the people of this country now and not tomorrow. The economic transformation, the radical economic transformation is no longer a matter of slogans and theory. It's no longer a matter of discussion, but it is a matter of implementation. We can't have any excuses anymore. Our people will lose hope if, as the ANC, we don't do anything when it comes to the issue of radical economic transformation. We need to make sure we transfer economy from the hands of the minority, who happens to be white, to the hands of the majority, who happens to be black. The time is now and not tomorrow. Let's act while we can before it's too late. We talk about the economy that will benefit blacks in general, but Africans in particular, not black individuals or groupings or elite blacks, but we want even a rural person sitting there or staying in Ngutu, who will be able to see what happens, who will be able to be affected by this economic transformation. They must be able to benefit in the riches of this country. And we are very much sure that the ANC government will be able to deliver this economic transformation, and our people will be able to live a better life and benefit and have a future with their children. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Sibia. Ilunga lelihloniphekile lalendlu womkhandlu wetifundza, umhlonishwa Mathevula.
Nakesa Chairperson. In the 3 years, the Economic Freedom Fighter have been members of this House. various committees of this House have gone out countless oversight visits. These oversight visits see members of the various committees speaking to communities, engaging with various stakeholders, visiting institutions, and monitoring government activities and service delivery. We come back from this oversight visit with observation and recommendation based on what we have seen, heard, and observed. Yet every year we make the same observation and the same recommendation and nothing changes. Unlike so much in the democracy process are followed, but only tick the box and with no purpose or outcome. A debate about deepening parliament oversight for quality service for our people first requires us as representatives of the people of South Africa to question why, despite the various oversight visits we make, things on the ground are not changing for our people and service delivery continue to get worse. The role of Parliament in the democracy is to hold executive accountable. Oversight visit is how we are meant to do this, but no honest members of this House can say that oversight visits have a substantive impact on service delivery, because regardless of the recommendation we make, government does not listen. If Parliament cannot hold the executive accountable for its failure to deliver service, who can? So when we talk about deepening parliamentary oversight for quality service to our people, the starting point must not be doing more oversight visits, but rather it must be about finding new initiative ways for Parliament to hold the executive accountable for its failure in service delivery. The failure to deliver service within the current economic and political system rests on three factors: corruption, mismanagement or incapacity, and lack of budget for local municipalities. Billions of rands have been stolen from government purse and state-owned entities through the corruption dealings of ANC and DA officials at every level of government. From national government, where the Zuptas steal billions of rands, from province where thousands of ghost employees are paid, to local municipality where tenders are given to people and companies with no capacity to deliver. Government has also been turned into the main employment agency of the ANC, putting incompetent cadres in position where skilled people are required. It's only in a banana republic where chief engineer of multi-billion rand SOE does not have a degree in engineering. Why recently the South African Local Government Association said that it is very unlikely that municipalities across the country will be able to provide basic services as the budget allocated to local government is too small. Unless this House can hold the executive accountable for these failures, no amount of oversight will improve the service delivery to our people. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Matebul, enkama we aungasihela akuna mwana lava kuvutisa. Oh, wait. No, honorable members, she was still left with 2 minutes. So there was a hand from Honorable One. So I wanted to deal with the hand of Honorable One. But not that I wanted to disturb you. But in future, if a presiding officer is drawing your attention, you just have to stop and listen why. Okay. It's Honorable Mapena.
In your dreams. Thank you, Honorable House Chair, Honorable Speaker of the NCOP, Honorable Thandi Modise, Honorable Special Delegates and Honorable Members. Ke a le dumedisa. South African Constitution, Act 108, yeah, 1996, make reference to the fact that all South Africans have a right to access to health service, including reproductive health and emergency services. This access is available to all persons residing in South Africa, even those who are in prison, Honorable Speaker. The National Council of Provinces reports to taking Parliament to the people makes several references to health facilities in Mangaung Metro and in Harib District where there are defects and maintenance backlogs. Honorable Speaker, as Free State, we acknowledge the challenges that we are faced with, and we are working on those challenges. However, honorable members, in the Free State, it should be noted that despite the issues, our people are never returned away from the clinics or the hospitals. The services are given to them on the daily basis, 24/7. An important aspect that needs to be considered is the change in the population of Free State. The ANC-led government in the Free State needs to accommodate the entire population within our borders. When I'm talking about the borders, Honorable Speaker, I'm talking about Northern Cape, I'm talking about Eastern Cape, and Lesotho. Honorable Speaker, according to the census 2016, when comparing the previous census of 1996, 2001, and 2011, population in Free State has increased by 4.3%, equivalent to 2.69 million in 1996 and 2.7 million in 2011. Honorable Speaker, the Free State Province has a very good story to tell in terms of the health services. The health services that we are providing. Plenary has also been visited during the NCOP week, and the delegation was informed that the hospital has revealed referrals from all regional hospitals in the province. Furthermore, Honorable Speaker, the hospital has also accepted referrals from Northern Cape, Eastern Cape, and Lesotho, like I've already indicated. The Department of Health in Free State provides its constitutional mandate of providing material care for women. Between 2014 and 2016, a total 14,689 babies were delivered, of which 51% were successful cesarean sections and cesarean sections operation, and 45.9% were normal deliveries. The Department of Health in Free State has even built a small school for those children who are receiving MDR treatment. We all know that when you are taking the MDR treatment, you normally kept hospitalized for 9 months. Therefore, because this province is the province that take care of the education of the black child, that is why the school has been built, to accommodate these children, for them not to lose their education whilst being hospitalized. For 2014-2015 and 2015-2016, Plenary received unqualified audit opinion on their performance information. Honorable Speaker, at MUCPP Clinic, it is situated in Pelindaba in Rocklands Township. This clinic is operating 24 hours. On the average, the MUCPP service approximately 15,000 people per month is provided, and they provide 4,187 patients with ARV medication treatment. At MECPP, we have 28 professional nurses, 14 enrolled nurses, 7 assistant nurses, 14 cleaners, occupational therapy, dentist, service, dentist with 5 dental assistant pharmacists. And in need, the ANC in the Free State has a good story to tell. We are working tirelessly to ensure that we provide the best health care for all our patients, even those who are beyond our borders. Honorable Speaker, let me take this opportunity while the Deputy Minister is here. Ke etse kopo ho yena, jwalo ka modulasetulo wa bophelo bo botle hore, Honorable Minister, I'm on my knees. Ke se ke ipiletsa ho wena mongaka hore ha e kere ha o sheba tsa ditjhelete for the Free State, letsoho la hao le ke le kene ha fatshenyana le tebe hanyane, so that we employ the nurses, because the challenges, some of the challenges that we are faced with, they are caused because of shortage of staff. If the MEC can be allowed to get more funds so that he employ more nurses for us to overcome the challenge that we're having. During the NCOP, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Premier, Honorable Dr. Isma Khashule, took more than 30 CV of qualified nurses who have already went for training and they are qualified. They are soon going to be employed. Honorable Deputy Minister, ke se ke entse kopo ngwana ntate, ke a tshepa it will be listened to. Thank you very much. Ke a leboha.
Thank you. The Honorable Birthday, Honorable Kayla. Honorable Kayla. Honorable Kayla, don't worry, today it's your birthday. Even Honorable Dlamini won't disturb you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Our constitution envisages a good and just society, a modern society where the basic standards of living are in place, a place where citizens have access to food and water, where they can afford decent living, where people work, the streets and houses are lit, children go to school and universities, citizens are cared for when sick, and they live in an environment where their person and property are safe. The Constitution is therefore the embodiment of our collective conviction and not just articulates the base that we as a nation must fervently build on to realize a good society. Central to this constitutional conviction is an urgent need for creation of a relevant and proper infrastructure that will be able to anchor for its realization. Chairperson, Tabantu, which is located 60 kilometers east of Bloemfontein, 17 of Botabachela, is in great demand of infrastructure. Its economic and social infrastructure has been decaying since the days of its TBV states. One of those decaying infrastructures is the JP Moraka Hospital, which we visited. Chairperson, the national treasury needs to make more consistent investment in development of integrated infrastructure. Without more investment, there is no chance that this infrastructure can be addressed. I've been talking about this at Treasury, at the Committee of Finance. Unfortunately, MEC, I'm backing alone on this one here. We know that this call has been made on this platform before. However, the ruling party seems not to have interest. We understand that their priority is far from envisaged in society in the Constitution. They are preoccupied with politics of patronage and corruption. The recently reported fruitless, wasteful, and irregular expenditure are a testimony that the ruling party has less to do with integrated development of the people and their communities. The United Democratic Movement will not give up. We shall continue to call for the realization of our constitutional vision, where indeed all citizens are given opportunity to develop collectively. For this, we insist that in particular rural infrastructure must be funded. Our visit to Mangaung has exposed that inability of and refusal of a government to fill vacancies in public service, even in instances where the previous employer has passed on. Government takes time to fill their vacancies. This is because the ruling party has stooped so low to even deploy the lowest employee in public service. This has resulted in none or poor service delivery. Lastly, the current allocation of formula is unfavorable to the dominantly rural provinces. I'm talking of provinces like Eastern Cape, Free State, Northwest, and Limpopo. We must remember that when these provinces had the TBV states, which infrastructure was very bad, they inherited that. Unless there is more investment in rural infrastructure, or the province which had TBV states, we won't get anywhere. We'll talk here on this platform unless there is funds for infrastructure development in these poor provinces. Chairperson, the allocation system, which is based on the IEC, on the census, does not work, because during festive season, these people go back to these provinces, and these provinces must then provide facilities for them, facilities which don't exist. So we must relook at the system of providing finances to these different provinces. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Keila. The Honorable Tinta.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson of NCOP, Chief Whip of the NCOP, permanent and special delegates, distinguished guests, and members of the media. Molweni. Honorable Chair, today is yet again a significant day in the life of our maturing democracy, in that we continue to put into practice our shared commitment and conviction that the people shall govern. The very fact that we are gathered here today in a manner that we are and debating about taking the parliament to the people is a reflection of the already stated commitment of ensuring that the people shall govern indeed. The taking parliament to the people has provided us, the elected public representatives, with another effective platform to interact with our people. The theme itself, celebrating 20 years of the Constitution and 20 years of establishment of NCOP, deepening parliamentary oversight for quality services to our people, captures some of the most important features which must always preoccupy our daily lives and daily activities as we continue to serve our people. The Freedom Charter, as adopted at the Congress of the People in Kliptown on 26 June 1955, partly says, the people shall govern. Every man and woman shall have a right to vote for and stand as a candidate for all bodies which make laws. All people shall be entitled to take part in the administration of the country. The rights of the people shall be the same, regardless of race, color, or sex. All bodies of minority rule, advisory boards, council authorities shall be replaced by democratic organs of self-government. The taking the parliament to the people of Free State is a testament that we have heeded the call that was made in Kliptown 62 years ago. There is no better way to celebrate 62 years of the Freedom Charter and 20 years of the Constitution than to continue to ensure that indeed we are governed of the people, by the people, with the people. When we as a governing party shared a commitment with the people of South Africa that ours is a struggle to defeat the politics of exclusion, to defeat politics of masters and subjects and replace them with the system of inclusive politics, which will be anchored on the notion of a creation of government of the people, by the people, with the people. In essence, ours shall be people-centered and driven model of governance, wherein people themselves delegate governance to us, their public representatives, and not as their masters. We made a concrete pledge to our people. In this regard, with your permission, I would like to quote a famous paragraph in a book of eminent revolutionary, Karl Marx, who explains some of the dialectical relationship between the new and the old. In his 18th Premier of Louis Bonaparte, Marx said, and I quote, "Men make their own history, but they do not make it easy as they please. They do not make it under self-selected circumstances, but under circumstances existing already, given and transmitted from the past. The tradition of all that generations weighs like a nightmare to the brains of the living. And just as they seem to be occupied with revolutionizing themselves and things, creating something did not exist before, precisely such epochs of revolutionary crisis, and they anxiously conjure the spirits of the past to their service," and I close quote. The political compromise of 1994 was born of this concrete and historical reality, in which men do not make history as they please, which signified both a historic and important advance to the definition of the people.
Sorry, Honorable Tinta, let me take Honorable Mikalakis. Why are you standing?
House Chairperson, just on a point of order, I think we need a doctor in the House and not the Ace Magashule kind. I think she's having a stroke.
No, that is not a point of order. Continue, Honorable Tinta.
In this regard, as Marx has indicated, the NDR entered into agreements during the 1990 and 1994 negotiations, taking into account the conditions which Marx described as not being self-selected circumstances, but under circumstances which existing already, given, transmitted from the past. I would like to believe that it is obvious to all of us the complex and challenging reality created by this actuality, which was obviously not unique to our country, would pose a particular challenge to our forces of revolution to develop necessary strategy and tactics correctly to respond to this reality. Honorable Chair, the issues covered in the report further confirm that the ANC-led government continues to be responsive to the challenges faced by our people. We understand that even though we continue to have serious developmental blackouts, we do make serious strides in attending the triple challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. In conclusion, Honorable Chair, it is undeniable to those who act will err. Those who do nothing will carry no blemish of any errors. To them is therefore given the possibility to criticize who choose to act. So to the national and the Free State government, there's an African proverb which says, "Those charged with the task to fetch water from the river should not listen to the songs of frogs, and neither should you." As the Eastern Cape, we support the report. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Kaula.
Honorable Chairperson, Inkatha Freedom Party welcomes this opportunity to share with the House our sometimes shocking health experiences of the NCOP visit to the Free State province. In almost all the clinics we visited in the Tabanchu area, the clinics are suffering a challenge of understaffing. This is the same challenge that we also experienced during the pre-visits in Kopanong. In fact, in Philippolis, the ward councillor, who is a former nurse, also volunteers to assist at times because of this challenge. There is also a big problem of clinic managers acting for long periods since 2012 without any acting allowance paid to them. Most of the clinics we visited suffer a huge challenge of infrastructure inadequacy. Actually, most clinics in Tabanchu and Kopanong were built by homeland governments long before 1994. You can just imagine what those structures still look like today. There is very little post-1994 structures in that province. I just wonder what they are doing with the budgets allocated to them every year. Most of the clinics do not have security personnel, hence the challenge of theft of equipment. Some clinics were claiming that alarm systems were only installed 2 or 3 days before our arrival. Some clinics were painted and renovated 1 or 2 days before our arrival. In one clinic, Dinane, we arrived when the contractor was still on site trying to fix what was not fixable at all. In our wrap-up meeting with the district and provincial staff on Thursday, we tried hard to establish why some clinics in Tabanchu were so understaffed. It appeared that the staff establishment of some of these clinics was not available anywhere because the clinics themselves were not appearing anywhere in the records of the provincial offices. Honorable Chairperson, let me detail the report of just one clinic, Dinane. The clinic started in 1985. It used to operate 24 hours a day, but has since been reduced, reasons not known. It serves on average 90 patients a day. It has only 2 professional nurses. It is a very small 4-roomed structure that is dilapidating with a very big population that it serves. The waiting area is very small, thus patients are forced to wait outside in the sun on sunny days and in the rain on rainy days. The waiting periods are very long. Patients arrive as early as 5 a.m. There are 2 consulting rooms which are in very poor conditions. The dispensary is a disaster. Security is a major challenge. Computers get stolen in a matter of weeks after installation. Cases are opened but just get closed at the police station without any follow-ups. They do not have any pharmacy because there is nowhere to stock medicine. The toilet for patients was repaired just a day before we came, and it was just one toilet used interchangeably by both male and female patients. The alarm was installed a day before we came. One other building that is in the yard is used as a dumping site by District Health. During our pre-visit in Kopanong, these are some of the concerns that the people were raising at our community consultative meeting in Kopanong, which was also attended by the chairperson. Patients are being ill-treated at Philippolis. There's a huge water crisis all over Kopanong. The roads are bad with big potholes in the townships. Jagasfontein Hospital is like a death trap. People get in there ill but are worse off than when they got in when they are discharged. One patient, a female, was given wrong medication at Jagasfontein Hospital, resulting in her skin peeling off. This has crippled her to a point of no return. Philippolis is like a neglected town in all respects. No housing programs, highest levels of unemployment. They only get attention when it is electioneering times, when cars with blue lights come and leave for good after elections. Cattle theft is high, and the police are part of the syndicate. The learnerships are provided for youth.
Kaul.
Baba.
Ngiyaxolisa isikhathi siphelile.
Wangimosh. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Mtileni.
Honorable Chairperson, the Chairperson of the NCOP, Mayor Mudise, Honorable Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Pasha, MECs present today, honorable members in Shekani. Let me take this opportunity to commend the NCOP for consistently discharging its role of being the true and genuine voice of the people across the 9 provinces, irrespective of gender, color, or creed. What is impressing is the fact that the NCOP, through its annual program of taking Parliament to the people, has truly championed the cause of the poor and the marginalized in the society. This program has always reached out to areas which are often neglected by the government when delivering the services to the people. Equally important is the fact that each annual visit to an identified province focuses on a specific area of service delivery to our people, which forces the executive to have a focused approach in dealing with delivery issues. Honorable Chairperson, this year's event, which was held in the Free State from the 21st to the 25th of August, focused on the provision of health in the province. Held under the theme, celebrating 20 years of the NCOP and the Constitution, deepening the parliamentary oversight for quality services to our people. This year's event correctly took stock of the progress made by our democratic state in improving the quality of health of our people in the Free State province. We commend the Free State for the increase in the life expectancy of males and females from 41.9 years and 46 years between 2001 and 2006 to 49.6 years and 52.9 years respectively between 2011 and 2016. Although this still remains below the national average, but this is a progress that needs to be commended. This achievement brings us closer to realizing the UN Sustainable Development Goal number 3, which is about ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all at all the ages. If the province could continue to work on the improvement in the life expectancy, it will definitely help our country to realize the NDP objective of having a life expectancy of 70 by 2030. Honorable Chairperson, as one of the special delegates to this important program of the NCOP, I had an opportunity to listen to the health concerns that were raised by members of the community on the first day of the program. Despite the challenges of infrastructure, the shortage of medicine, the waiting times, the EMS, and many others, the people of the Free State remain impressed by the government's commitment to give them quality health as required by the Constitution. Schedule 4 of the makes health to be the concurrent function of the national and the provincial government. Accordingly, both spheres have made genuine undertakings in front of these community members to play their part in addressing the health challenges that faces our people in the Free State. What was more critical was the observation that were made when we visited the facilities in Mangaung and other areas. And Honorable Chairperson, I will try and confine my input to this observation. Let me be quick to indicate that I managed to visit 3 or 4 of the areas. And one of the general observations that have been indicated by everyone is the question of infrastructure. But it is in this context that the ANC took a resolution of making health an apex priority, because we knew that we have inherited an infrastructure from the apartheid state which was never meant to serve the majority of our people. We remain impressed by the commitment of the staff in various areas that we visited, who worked under difficult circumstances but showed clear commitment to improve the conditions of our people. It must be mentioned that despite the existence of some of the challenges, Tusong Clinic is doing far much better in the area in comparison with the other areas around the Mangaung. For this reason, we are urging the MEC to make use of that area as a model for the rest of the facilities in making sure that we improve the conditions of our people. Honorable Chairperson, we have also observed the good work that is being done at Pelonom Tertiary, but we urge the MEC also to make sure that the tertiary is being funded at the level that it should, because in terms of the report, it is funded as a regional kind of a hospital. This is the hospital that is the best trauma center in the province, and therefore it must be defended at all times. Despite the challenges that they are faced with around the appointment of staff and so on and so forth, they are able to utilize the existing personnel to deliver the services to our people at the required level. We need to urge the MEC on also to request him to put pressure on Dr. Ace Mahashule, the Premier, in making sure that the undertaking that he made around the appointment of doctors, more especially those that are completing in Cuba, is being speeded up in order to make sure that we are able to address the question of the personnel in the area. Otherwise, I must indicate that as we are celebrating 100 years of Oliver Tambo, if Tambo was here today, observe the progress made by his organization in delivering the services to our people under very difficult circumstances, he will definitely be impressed. He will definitely be happy that all the sacrifices that he made were not in vain. Na cancer.
Concede. The Honorable Shongwe.
Honorable Chair and all protocol observed, let me take this opportunity to appreciate the privilege to participate in this debate on the report table of the program held at the Kaiser Sibotelo Sports Arena, Buchabela, in the Mangaung Metropolitan Municipality and in Free State. That happened in August, preceded by the visit at Harib District Municipality regarding the healthcare services. We proclaimed the theme of this year's program, Deepening Parliamentary Oversight for the Delivery of Quality Services to People. As it coincides with Parliament annual theme, we say celebrating 20 years of the Constitution and 20 years since the establishment of the NCOP. The Constitution of Republic of South Africa, number 108 of 1996, section 27, right of access to health care, food, water, and social security states that everyone has a right to access to healthcare services, including childbirth facilities, enough food and water, and social security. We have passed laws and policies that provide welfare assistance for the people who need it the most. Section 27 says that the government must take steps within its available resources. This means the government must only provide what it can afford. But the section says that the government must improve these services over time. Everyone is allowed to have emergency medical treatment. The NDP Vision 2030 envisages the national health insurance as key to achieving quality, efficiency, effectiveness, and provision of quality health care, universal health cover, and significant risk posed by social determinants of diseases. According to the 2063 Africa Vision and Plan of the Africa We Want, and the Sustainable Development Goals, the achievement of good health and well-being of any nation state are critical to its economic and human development. Agenda 2063 also envisages Africa where African people have a high standard of living, quality of life, sound health and well-being. The Sustainable Development Goals seeks to achieve similar goals. The provincial statistics showed a rapid growth in diseases. Chronic diseases are by far leading causes of mortality in the world, representing 60% of all deaths. The operations and governments need serious checking up to improve the ineffectiveness and inefficiency within the health system. Quality health care has mostly been accessible to those who can afford and access it, and not those who need it. Infrastructure maintenance and development is basic. The lack of sanitation and water to healthcare facilities in the province need an urgent and serious intervention. An integrated service delivery is key to that particular matter. While an interrupted water supply is necessary for the delivery of quality health care, full capacity on human resource and in fact ensuring that posts are prioritized and filled timelessly. Honorable Chair, the mindset of our public service, of our public servants must change for the better. We can complain about the MEC and the department, but the MEC cannot go to all parts of the provinces and be a nurse and be a cleaner and be a doctor and be everything in the particular province. I want to agree with the chairperson of the NCOP that services must not be effective when only officials, members of parliament, and everybody else is going to a particular place or province. Well, I must also say, Honorable Chair, that the government which is led by the ANC in Free State is working in a coordinated and collective way. The strategy of trying to divide us by DA will never be successful. The MEC of Health in Free State is one of the collective. And to my friends from EFF, we are debating issues of health provincially here, not issues of municipalities. We must make difference between the provincial issues and the municipality issues. I don't think the MEC, I don't want to think that the MEC can ever take advices from people that the entire people of this country have no confidence of. It will be wrong. It will be wrong if Honorable Kompela is going to take advices from these few people that are coming here to try and advise you. You will be misled and you will go down to the doldrums. Well, I want also to agree with Honorable Kaula, but to say to him, I think it is very much proper for a matured, honorable member of your nature that the government of Free State is open for advice from you at all given time, not only on the days when we are debating. We really
sorry,
have...
sorry, Honorable Shongwe, let me deal with Honorable Faba. Honorable Faba, why are you standing? Honorable Matebula, Honorable Matebula, it's not your responsibility to do that. Honorable Faba, you are recognized.
Honourable Chair, I would like if the honourable guest member would take a question.
Okay, Honorable Shongwe, are you ready to take a question from Honorable Faba?
I will more than welcome the question.
It's ready. Ask your question.
Great, thank you, Chair.
No order, members. Let's listen to the question.
Chairperson, Then I'm so grateful. I wonder if the honourable member can tell us about the huge hospital in Tromsburg. How many casualties they were helping so far, and how many doctors have been appointed at this huge hospital at this stage, which was supposedly been opened already.
Honorable Faber, you ask a question, you don't elaborate, ask your question and then.
I think I made my, I'm
Honorable Shongwe.
Chairperson.
Yes.
Be quite honest. I don't think, Honourable Chair, is for you to tell me about my question, please.
I'm saying ask a question.
I got permission from you to ask the question, so let me ask my question.
Ask your question. Are you not done with your question?
Honourable Member, did you understand the question? Did you understand the question I asked you, sir?
Honorable Faber, you can't be talking to the...
No, I'm asking the Honourable
No,
Member.
you can't be talking to him. You have to do it via myself.
Honourable Chair, then I would like to know if the Honourable Member
Yes.
understood the question.
Yes, take your seat.
Thank you.
Honorable Shongwe.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The question that the Honorable Member is raising has to do with statistics. And that response, you will get them from the relevant MEC. Chairperson, we really have to improve on our management. Greater discretion over the clinical and administrative matters at facility level, combined with effective accountability. Ambulance responses time is critical. Let us empower our institution with resources. I repeat, Chairperson, integrated service delivery is key. The Department of Basic Education curriculum also becomes critical in this question to help to educate our learners, who in turn will educate their families. Same as all other sister departments in their respective fields and target market. Safety and security clusters need to ensure that our facilities are protected, occupational health and safety compliance, environmental health risk control, user-friendly facilities. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Shongwe. Honorable Julius.
Thank you, House Chair. During this taking Parliament to the people, we have heard pleas of a hungry province. We have heard pleas of a sick and tired province, an unemployed and disenfranchised province, a province weak and at the mercy of a government that does not care about them, Honorable Shongwe. What we have heard has touched every single delegate there. It can be sugar-coated and denied, or as the Premier did in his speech on the last day, sold the opposition propaganda, but the sincerity in the public's pleas for help cannot be faked. This is a province in dire need of solutions, honourable members. But Honourable Shongwe, I can assure you, it is not the DA, but the people that will prove you wrong. You can not forever fool the people. You can fool some, sometimes, but not all of them, all of the time. You already lost power in most metros, and the same will happen in 2019. I can guarantee you that. Don't underestimate the power of people. Chairperson, I want to agree with you. How did we get to this point? How did we get to this point in the Free State?
Honorable Julius, sorry, Honorable Julius, let me take the hand of Honorable Wana.
I know the question. I know the answer.
No, can you take your seat?
I know the answer.
No, take your seat. You can't be doing that. Honorable Julius, no, don't worry about time. No, we'll manage that. Honorable Wana, why are you standing?
Chairperson, thank you very much.
Order, members.
Can the Speaker allow me to put a question to him?
Honorable Julius, are you ready to take a question from Honorable Wana?
Yes, if my time is stopped, yes, always, Honorable Wana, always.
Okay, are you taking it now?
Yes.
Okay, it's taking your question. Ask the question.
Okay. Thank you, Julius, for allowing me to ask a question.
Honorable
Julius. No, Honorable Julius, not Julius. Thank you, Honorable Julius.
Julius, although you were not part of were not part of the visit in the area where I was. Can you tell me what was exciting when we got to Mangaung Hospital in Pilonomi?
Honorable
That
Julius.
we agree about all. That we agree about. All of us agree.
Well,
about.
Honorable Wana, I can tell you what was exciting. Seeing you for the first time, so happy there.
Take your seat, Honorable
It was
Wana.
very,
One
very
seat.
exciting to see you there. Nothing impressed me much about the Free State on that day. But Chairperson...
Honorable Julius, sorry, can you take it? Honorable Mtimonye.
I needed to check if we want to take another question, Chair.
Honorable Julius, are you ready to take a question from Honorable Mtimonye?
Yes, I'm
No,
ready.
it's ready.
Chair, I needed to understand. My understanding of politics is about ideological orientation of a particular
Honorable
organization.
Mtimonye, Honorable Mtimonye, order members, Honorable Mtimonye, you are not going to be debating with him. Ask your question.
Okay, what is the ideological orientation of the DA? Is it about power or is it about the people?
Thank you. Honorable Julius.
Yes, thank you, House Chair. Thank you for the question, Honorable Mtimunye. But you see, Chairperson, in everything that we do, we need the voters' backing. And we don't say, like Honorable Shongwe said just now, the voters will never support another party. We honor voters. To get to power, you need to go to the voter and ask them to get into power. But I appreciate the question from the Nkuku revolutionary Chairperson. You know, they just go after propaganda and eat. Never lift your head up. You just support, and come in with your cheap politicking. But Chairperson, we have lost all faith in government in the Free State. Many of the old people who had to live through injustices of apartheid are now faced with the same injustices under an ANC government and sees no fault in Ace Magashule's corruption in that province. These ordinary but sincere and real South Africans have now lost all faith in all government endeavors thanks to the ANC. How dare the provincial government's head, the premier of the province with the highest unemployment rate, stand on a stage during Taking Parliament to the People program and blatantly lie that all is well whilst people are losing their lives due to a lack of resources. I wonder how many of the premier's people, Honorable MEC, which I respect you, but how many of the premier's people are actually using those clinics? If they use it, they would have known what's happening in their clinics. I can only say they're not using it because they didn't do anything for years about it. Now, Honorable Sibia, another Nkuku revolutionary, actually left now. You know, he was obviously sent by the masters of construction or destruction. You know, it's always the case. They disguise the facts. We are here talking about the mismanagement, maladministration.
Honorable Julius, let me take Honorable Mtimunye. Honorable Mtimunye, why are you...
Another question, Chair.
Honorable Julius, are you ready for another question?
How many times you want to get hurt? Yes, please.
Okay, it's ready to take your question. Ask your question.
I want to understand what is the Nkuku revolution. Is it looking down upon the poor masses of the country or what?
I will answer the question. My time is stopping, Mr.
Honorable Mtimunye, you just ask a question and that's it. Honorable Julius.
Yes, an Nkuku revolutionary like yourself is like a chicken. They throw the propaganda there and you just eat and eat and eat without lifting your head. And whilst you are eating, whilst you are being fed propaganda, the looting continues others on the other side, just like President Zuma and his corrupt ministers. Chairperson, my time is also running. They didn't stop it while the question was here, but it's all right. I think I'll finish in time. Now, Chairperson, this is proof of a careless ANC government. Honorable Mitileni, you know, how dare you say that OR Tambo would be happy about this. How dare you say that? We went to a province, we have seen what's happening in that province. People are dying, deprived of services, and OR Tambo would have been happy. How dare you say that? We need to respect our leaders and come out to the truth. Nkuku revolutionaries. Chairperson, but the people of the Free State have an option.
Honorable
There's
Julius.
a solution. The DA is the only solution
Honorable
in
Julius.
2019. I thank you.
Honorable Kompela.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, thank you, Deputy Minister, colleagues, Comrade Chongwe, and the rest of very important members of the NCOP. Chair, firstly, as the Free State Province, would really, from the bottom of our heart, appreciate your visit in our province. In great humility, your visit in the province was never a destructive visit to that province, but a visit that was going to enhance how we're going to and how we are providing services to our people in that province. At no stage have we ever think that the health as a motive aspect would be a political football, but we have taken it that all of us as a collective, representative of our people in this country, we talk about something that is a matter of life and death, which is health. So we appreciate all the inputs, and we are ready to accept and implement constructive inputs that you have given to us, because you are there on the ground, you have seen the shortcomings, we have seen our strength, and therefore we will make a contribution to where there is a shortcoming. Honorable Julius, please never get worried about the Free State. We are ready. The Free State, the United Nations and the SADC on record have made the province in the African continent have the best infant mortality rate, and therefore the UN and the SADC were requesting province to go and see the crisis that you're talking about. What is this that is good that has made us to bring down the infant mortality rate at that level where kids are not dying when they're born? And if those institutions are wrong, people are dying like flies in the doom, then they have to go and do an assessment and say, Free State, you're not right, and therefore we can't ask people to go and find out from you, how did you get right, that mothers must not give birth to already children that are going to die. Honorable Chair, the second thing that I would like to say, the visit that you undertook in the Free State from the 21st to the 24th was a very unprecedented visit. You went to 34 sites in the Free State. To us, that was unprecedented, and therefore we appreciated that. As honorable colleague, a comrade said, as Marx put it, he said, some of these things were not our own creation. Tabanchu, the African National Congress has never given birth to Tabanchu. The African National Congress has never given birth to Botshabelo. The African National Congress has never given birth to Kwakwa. And those areas which honorable members correctly saw, we have seen under development, under services that were there, And that was the legacy that was dumped on next door to Bloemfontein by an apartheid government in creating Botshabelo and Tabanchu. And we're dealing with that legacy. But the situation has turned. The situation has get better. Those who went to Botshabelo, I think we have seen the hospital there. That is at a very good condition. It's pocket of excellence that we're doing. And we're proud that that hospital in Botshabelo is doing a good job. The minister has encouraged us through the commission that is put in place. And out of that commission, the things that were picked up by the commission that the minister requested are exactly the things that you pick up, honorable members. Those were three main things that we are battling as province. If we can get those three right, then we got health right in the country. One is HR. If we get the human resource correct in our institution, then you must know that we're beginning to do it right. Proper, relevant, right people to those places where we need to deploy them, that should happen. The finance and the supply chain. Those need competent people who are dealing with finances and supply chain so that there should be no wasteful expenditure that occurs there, and competent people in that area. Minister and the commission have raised that and say all provinces, all of them, not exclusion of any, that is a problem on the finance and the supply chain. The maintenance and infrastructure. Those three things, the maintenance and the infrastructure, we can build 5-star hospitals. As soon as you reduce the maintenance, they get depleted. You will never get them right, and therefore the maintenance of this institution should be the order of the day. And we have taken that recommendation that definitely we must up the bar around the maintenance and the refurbishment of our state places. Chair, and even if the psychiatric complex, as it was said, was not in a good condition, I must accept. But Chair, the minister sent people throughout the country immediately on the Esitimeni incident. But I want to say, in a humble way, not very arrogant as a Free State, that the provinces were requested to go and see in the Free State, how were we managing this critical aspect of the psychiatric complex of these people who are so vulnerable. And still there, whilst your observation was correct, we were not found wanting there. We were regarded as the best, including the so-called the best of other people there. We were regarded as number one in how we are approaching the psychiatric complex as the province. But Chair, in spite of the gloom that Honorable Julius, my friend, is painting here, the Minister and the Auditor General have announced in the presence of all of us, Honorable Julius, that the Free State in 9 provinces is one of the most improved departments in the decade. And in 13 years, Honorable Julius, through you, Chair, in 13 years, that department got unqualified audit opinion after 13 years. Cherry on top, Honorable Chair, is that we in the Free State Province, in that region called Thabo Mofutshanyane in Qwaqwa, were the only region in the country that had a clean audit above all better provinces that other people could think they are in the province. And we're not arrogant about it. We're saying we can do more and better, and all our 5 provinces, if that could be the same, and also the output on the delivery of the service should be equal to the clean audit, then we must know that we shall have dealt an indelible mark to the health profession and the diseases in that province. Honorable Chair, the issue of Buthelezi was raised by this honorable committee, and we have raised it, and I can greatly report to this committee. And I have said even on the last day of this honorable committee in Botshabelo that the Buthelezi contract has expired. We're not going to renew the contract of Buthelezi in 100%, but we are not going to let it go, and the services must collapse because we don't have 50 ambulances that are running at a go in the Free State as a complementary to our government ambulances. But we are going to slash 25 of those ambulances so that the 25 must remain. Progressively, we must be able to get rid of Buthelezi and have our own ambulances running because we are insourcing the state issues in the Free State. And those ambulances, Comrade Honorable Kaula, need specialized people. In an ambulance in the EMS, you need somebody who's a midwife. You don't get him in a corner. You get a midwife, and that ambulance must be equipped, and therefore, if you take away
Honorable
50
Kompela.
ambulances.
Honorable Kompela, now we have touched Honorable Kaula. Honorable Kaula, why are you standing?
It's a point of order, Chairperson.
Okay, raise your point of order.
The Buthelezi ambulances, no relations to the Prince. No relations to Prince Buthelezi, MSC.
Honorable MEC, you can continue.
No, thank you. I'm Thank you very much. Yes. Chair, the observation around Pelunomi of the orthopedic, the gynae, obstetric, and all those are specialized fields. You will never, even on the oncology, problems in KZN of oncology were done because those people are very highly professional. They are above a doctor, they are above a professor, because they are specialized. And therefore, if you run short, in the Free State, they are there, but they have to do a visit to other places to go and help, because you can't get them. And the money that we have to pay for those specialized people, oncology and gynaes and obstetric, is very high. And therefore, if you have one has not come to Cape Town or in KZ in Durban, you're in Gauteng, you must be lucky as the Free State. Chair, 90%, 90 vacancies of general practitioners in the province next door to us, Eastern Cape, are still vacant up until today. 90. And no doctor wants to go to the Eastern Cape. All of them, when they apply, they want to go to KZN, Gauteng, and Western Cape. And what about the Free State we have? Free State we have, but we are talking about the Northern Cape. The Northern Cape, there are 30 positions in the Northern Cape. Nobody wants to go to Northern Cape in Kakamas and Kuruman there. And these doctors not want to go there. What else should the Northern Cape do under such circumstances? What should they do under such circumstances? There's nothing that they can do. So we must be grateful with the little that we have and expand it to do more with the little that we have. Chair, I want to say the revolution is just about to launch in June next year. The young boys that have been taken to Cuba for primary health care, in June, babuyele kai. And we are going to deal with primary health care like nobody's business in this country. And the stream of curative is going to get an injury because our ethos will change to preventative rather than a curative. And therefore, those who share the discovery and the others are going to be hurt.
As you conclude, Honorable MEC.
As I conclude, Honorable Chair. As I conclude, the Honorable Chair, all other matters that you have raised, we have responded in the first phase to the Honorable Chair on the things that were raised there. We are left with the last reply, but I think, including Dinana, which is at the wetlands, but if you can go there in the next 3 months, you'll get a clinic, but not where Dinana is, because that is a wetland, somewhere else where Dinana is deserving to have a better clinic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. The next speaker is Councillor Stemele.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, the honorable members of the President House, honorable MEC of Provinces, the members of the NCOP. It is a great honor and a privilege to present the organized local government sector in today's debate. Honorable Chairperson, today's plenary debate has two fundamental importance, which is indeed to contribute in the democracy systems of this government. The first one talks in the forms of character of the states as equivalent in departure from the previous dispensation in Parliament remains a critical definition of the element of Parliament, not only for the composition made by the democratic elections, but represented through the out-figmentation of programs invested. The second, indeed, interest today's debate deals enrichment in the Constitution, the right to access to health care. Honorable members, you will certainly agree with us. In the right health, it is a fundamental and physical, mental individual in necessary compensations of the development. It is, Honorable Chairperson, the above targets outlined in the National Development Plan in the ODP to increase the lifespans to 70 years old, to generate and have a generation of under 20 free HIV and AIDS, significantly reduce the burdens of dependency into both communal and non-communal, implement national health insurances, the Asian iron emphasis of the communities, the net care and support in better human resource systems. Indeed, our NDP is also in line with various global protocols and such in the World Health Organization and African Union and Commonwealth ministers in the sense of there are three around the goals, considering indicator child mortality, mental mortality, and fight against HIV and malaria. Insufficient of the risk factors caused in plumbing pandemics and communicable disease. In implementation of the Universal Council, which urges the end of our participation Parliament in Parliament. The people of Mangaung are in agreement with the report a number of challenges we observe in Mangaung. These are our views, including many clinics, care committees confirm there's a lesser optional terms of participation in the function. That is a case whole of the country, adequate abundance disease has been identified as a major health concern in provinces. Adequate abundance of HIV and AIDS, pandemics alongside of TB and child mentality, high level of violence and injuries, growing non-communicable diseases. Worrying patterns, Chair, is the illegal dumping, both generally and the medical, which in the spill of sewage, spill over, leakage of toilet overflow. Pit toilets expose obstacle, raise public hearings, imposing health risk into the communities. Honorable members, I'm certainly this debate indeed meant to reflect on the privileged conditions in the city of Mangaung. In the same time, in our opinion, to debate shall be both in efforts in making sure this are addressed in the health system of our country. According to SALGA, we would like to eliminate the following proposed solution going forward. A, SALGA will work together with the Department of Health Province towards strengthening the provincial, district health council, clinics, and the health care communities to ensure councillors form part of the council's committees provided in the National Health Care Act. B, SALGA will support municipal and mobilizing communities to ensure citizens play in the leading role in these committees. C, SALGA will establish a health emergency service working in government and structures and aim to strengthen the oversight of deliverance. Service in local government is a way in building a focused program supporting municipalities. SALGA, through its local government and leadership, will continue to build capacity and deliver sustainable municipality and services of communities. Furthermore, SALGA will work with the National Department of Health to provide training and norms and standards of environment. In conclusion, we indeed convince SALGA that much more clear and stable dispensation requires in terms of divisions of powers and functions, a more sustainable focus and health across 3 spheres of government. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Dlamini.
Angibonge sihlalo. Ngibonga nosihlalo wendlu. Good Deputy Minister, MECs present today, special guests, especially the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee from Free State. Good afternoon. Honorable Chair, I will not want to be popular by repeating what has been said by all the speakers before me. All what I have prepared has been covered fully by all the speakers, including the opposition parties. But it will be important for me, Chair, to emphasize on few issues that are a concern to the committee. Honorable Chair, I must say that challenges that we encountered at Free State are not only in Free State. There are challenges that are common to all provinces. I'm saying that because we've been to almost 7 provinces doing oversight. We are left with only 2 provinces. There are challenges that are common in all provinces. For example, the challenges of aging, infrastructure, and also issues of maintenance, shortage of staff, and also freezing of posts when they become vacant, especially the clinical posts, shortage and outdated equipments, long waiting hours, security issues, centralization of powers at a provincial level instead where services are taking place. And that includes recruitment powers as well as procurement powers, the governance structures. These challenges, Chair, are in all provinces, not only in Free State. I thought I should say that because if you listen at people talking here, you'll think no health services are provided in the Free State, yet is not the case. But what is also encouraging, with all the challenges, Chair, that are experienced, especially in all provinces, especially the Free State, still services are taking place. So it's important to note that, and one is encouraged by the fact that there are still services that are taking place. With all the challenges that we have witnessed on health services, especially in Free State or in the country, I must say, Chair, that they cannot be compared with the achievement that has been made by this ANC government in the country as compared to pre-1994. And some of the challenges that we're facing are because of the successful programs that are implemented by the ANC-led government. Because if you compare before, let me take Mpumalanga for example, before 1994, services were only provided in the Eastern Transvaal. You go to Kazankulu, Lebuwa Khomo, Kangwane, Kwandebele, those services were not provided. But now, because we are providing services to everyone, you are bound to experience these challenges. I thought I should say that, Chair. And also, Honorable Chair, on the challenges, I want to plead with provinces, especially the premiers, MECs, if you could take this message to the premiers. It doesn't matter how financially constrained we are as a country, but you cannot freeze clinical posts. The question that we always have as a committee is that whose child or whose relative that must die because there's shortage of personnel. It should not come up to that. We are saying you can look at other areas, but you cannot freeze posts at clinical level. It's happening in all provinces, I must say. We are pleading, Honorable Deputy Minister, that do take it up. What you are doing in KZN is a good job. Do it in other provinces, like engaging the premiers to say, we cannot freeze posts, a clinical post. And the issue of equipment or outdated equipment is also a challenge. E-technology is moving very fast now. We're talking about the 4th revolution, industrial revolution. We have to go with times so that in terms of giving services to our patients, we are using the equipment that are updated in terms of technology. That is one area that I should also talk about. The centralization of powers in terms of procurement. You do not expect hospitals or district offices to go and ask money for a tissue paper, cleaning material from the province. We are requesting that provinces should decentralize some of the things that are used in almost every day so that the procurement processes will be fast, as well as the filling of vacant funded posts. It should be decentralized to the next level of where service is taking place. And also finally, the one area that I would want to touch on, the long waiting list. We are aware is that because we are providing medication to a number of people as compared to before, but there has been a number of initiatives that has been introduced by the department. Let's make use of that instead of going to the health facilities only. Let's consider these other areas where medication could be collected to reduce the number of patients who are waiting at health facilities. Honorable Chair, I want to say, in Kuku Revolution, from where I am sitting, you also belong there. You are the number one Kuku Revolution. Because, Chair, I'm saying that if your understanding of Nkuku Revolution is listening to the propaganda that you are told of and don't look up and see what is reality, is exactly what is happening in the Western Cape. I will make an example. Go to Kaelisha Hospital. It's far worse than the challenges that were mentioned here. I will not have time to go into details. And these challenges had been communicated to Umam Zile, who is the leader of EDA in this particular province. They had been communicated to Umam Bombo, who is the MEC of the province. June last year, 2016, they were communicated, but there had been no action. The first one is staffing, shortage of clinical staff. But they work in such a way that they do umsebenzi wama-porters because posts are frozen, not, made available or known which post will be filled. The next thing, nepotism. The deputy director responsible for nursing interview her own brother, appointment of people who don't have minimum qualification. One example is the advanced midwife. A person who was appointed related to the manager never produced qualification, damaged pregnant women because no qualification were found. That is DA in the Western Cape. Talking about nepotism, corruption on finances. Listen, corruption in finances. Your managers there are paying themselves money for leave days which were not taken, but it's not happening to the junior staff, and that is no more happening. But in the Western Cape, it's happening. Can you go and look into that thing? In terms of tenders, a number of tenders.
Honorable Dlamini, let me take Honorable Julius. Order members,
Thank you,
members.
House Chair. I just wanted to know whether the Honorable Dlamini will take a question, please.
No. Honorable Mohapi, don't assist. Honorable Dlamini, are you ready to take a question from Honorable Julius?
Let me first finish about this corruption that is happening at Kadesh.
It's not ready.
Tenders, Honorable Chair, tenders which needs to be investigated. A tender, air conditioning, which was fixed multi-million, but for every day. But over 3 billion has been paid on that tender. A tender, CCTV cameras, which were put, but they're not working. It's a list of the tenders where corruption is involved. Go and investigate those tenders before you go to the ANC provinces. Come to the...
Honorable Dlamini. Sorry, can I take to Honorable Isaac? Honorable Isaac, why are you standing? Order, members. Honorable Isaac.
Chairperson, on a point of order, I think the honourable member on the podium might be slightly off topic, but that doesn't matter, it's not serious. If she'll just take a simple question, we can get on.
Honorable Dlamini, are you ready to take a simple question from Honorable Isaac?
I'm not done, sir. Chair.
No, it's saying it's not done yet. It's not ready. She is not ready. She is not ready. Take your seat. Continue, Honorable Dlamini.
Honorable Chair, it's a list of them. It's a list of them. I will request that the DA province go and investigate and make sure that those people are living like South Africans. The life in Khayelitsha District Hospital is like they're living in the apartheid system. You must go and sort that one. Finally, Chair, I have a list of them. I can give you this list. Finally, EFF, you missed an opportunity of using your wisdom.
Honorable Dlamini. Mhlonishwa Dlamini.
Using your wisdom to make my recommendations on how to improve the
Mhlonishwa
health
Dlamini.
services.
Honorable Dlamini.
That-
Honorable Dlamini. Take your seat. No, to Honorable Dlamini, your time is up. Let me invite the Honorable Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces.
Chairperson, thank you. Honorable members, we really have had an interesting afternoon on a very serious topic. Health is an equalizer. It's like education. If you can't get health, you can't get anything. It is one of those that Honorable Terry Blanche, sharing a funny background, will agree on, that you never make a football of. You never take issues of security, you never take education, you never take health and politicize them to the extent that you actually begin to lose the perspective. I think we should agree that, Deputy Minister, we need to do something about the concurrent nature of the powers of the national department and the provinces. We equally need to go back to look at the health facilities which are under the municipalities and begin to get congruence amongst these three spheres on these issues, because they do cause problems. The issues of 24-hour clinics sometimes are related to the municipalities versus the province and versus to that. You also need to look at, as a nation, you need to look at what you are allocating to health. I want to agree that sometimes it does not make sense for some of us who come from semi-desert provinces, for somebody to sit in a very dense city and take a decision and say, unless you are X number of people, you do not qualify to have a clinic. It does not make sense, because it means that in those areas where people cannot get themselves to be 1,000, you are saying you are condemning them. So when you want to posture as a South Africa that is developmental, you need to take a very hard look at the policies you are coming up with. But you also need to take a knock sometimes and say, in the difficult years of the economy, what must give? I seem to hear South Africans, I seem to hear the executive, and I seem to hear the people in the street saying everything goes, it doesn't care whether the rand is falling, it doesn't care whether the economy is improving or not, we will have our pound of flesh like yesterday. Clearly, South Africans must sit down and say, in these dire economic times, what are we suspending? What are we holding on to? What must we keep on giving on irrespective of the hard economic times? And I'm saying that you cannot sacrifice education. You cannot sacrifice health. You cannot sacrifice the aged. You cannot sacrifice people with disability. You cannot sacrifice babies. So we need, as a country, to get into conversation with ourselves. I also want to say that I'm one of those who is saying, Chairperson, I was quite confused on Monday. Not angry, confused. Confused by all South Africans. Yes, the old flag of South Africa remains in the past, must stay in the past. We do not want to be reminded. Yes, we must be worried about the deaths of everybody. Yes, we must all hold hands together as South Africans and condemn every death. Yes, we must hold on to our cultural and historical values, but we must also remember that we crossed a little line as South Africans and we thought we were God's best people on this world because we said we are united in our diversity. It cannot be that our diversity is only remembered when it is Sunday and we are screaming in houses of the Lord. It must be remembered whether it is raining or snowing, that we are South Africans, we are different, that we've got psychological problems, that we have a baggage, we are South Africans, hey, make those differences unique. Lastly, Chair, Honorable Matebula says, let us be a little bit innovative about this thing. We are not the executive. Our job is to make Honorable Bhutan, and we used to do it very effectively when we both used to be in the name. To your people and my people. That is holding them to account. Our job is not to make excuses. Our job is to listen to our people, to see what they need, and sometimes to go and feel. Honorable Hatting will remember in Kharib, they woke up, they had no water to wash, and he said to me, I want to go because I couldn't get a bath. And I said, welcome, you can go, Chris. I said, the other half lives like this, my brother. You're going to go because today, as a member, a public representative, you can't have enough water to bath. So sometimes it is good for us to experience what our people experience. And sometimes I thought I was lucky perhaps to come into my last term of parliament into this house. Because in this house, you have the opportunity sometimes to forget your party and to work for the people directly. So sometimes we need to actually ask what we are contributing as the NCOP towards bringing together that project of all of us we are proud of, Ika Mandela, of building the nation. Because sometimes, let me tell you, these colors mean absolutely nothing. What must matter to all of us is that we are people, we are South Africans. It must mean that we want to build a country called South Africa.
Chairperson, let me take Honorable Kone. Honorable Kone, why are you standing?
On a point of order, obviously.
Yes.
Chairperson, ke kopa gore o nchekelele mma gore jaaka ha le progressive ke tshepetse thata yang mo go ene a o ka tsa potso ya ka e khutshane ke potso ya e khutshane
nka etsa
mme a re wa dumalana
No. You can't be talking, the two of you. I'm in charge here.
Chair, I was.
Honorable Kone, the chair is ready to take your question. Can you ask your question?
Chairperson.
No, I understand.
Ke a leboga Chairperson. Ke botsa mma gore a mma o dumalana le nna. Ha ke re go ka nna botoka thata mo ba tlhokegeng ba South Africa borwa ba re tlileng mo hausung ye gompieno. Ka lebakeng la bone gore ditleliniki ha di ka bulwa 24 hours go ka nna botoka thata mo healthing ya batho ba rona ba ba ko tlase. Ke a leboga.
Ke a dumela. I have actually spent most of my time in the
No,
Northwest trying to
I'll-
do exactly that. Open clinics so that people can access. Make primary health care free. Make sure that the poor are not turned away from hospitals and clinics. That is what I gave my life for. That is what I would like to go back to my house and say, one of the things I gave my youth up for is coming true. The truth of the matter is that unless South Africa really looks deep and says, we are going to suspend this program and that program week because we cannot afford it. The problem with us is that we want to do everything, even those that we can't afford at the same time. And sometimes I think if you go back to running the coffers of the state like you run your own house, you will then realize that a budget is but a budget. Sometimes you have a little bit extra and therefore you can afford the luxuries. But the basics you know you must always achieve. But I wanted to say to Free State, thank you very much. We will continue to monitor. We are very happy of the commitments you have made. Ntate Komela, me Nomvula Mkonyane, Ntate Mtswaledi, Ntate Gigaba. We are very happy about those commitments. We want to say that we will continuously be in touch. We will be nice, but sometimes we are not so nice because our job says we must not always be nice. We must ask those unpleasant questions, but that does not mean we hate anybody. We ask them because we want to see improvements in the lives of our people. Ke a leboga, Mrena.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. That concludes the debate. I shall now put the question. The question is that the report be agreed to. In accordance with Rule 7.1, I shall first allow provinces to make declaration of vote if they so wish. We shall now proceed to voting. I'll do it in alphabetical order. Eastern Cape,
Yay, Xhosa.
Free State,
The Free State support it.
Gauteng,
Gauteng agrees.
KwaZulu-Natal,
KwaZulu-Natal siyavu.
Limpopo,
Impopara dumela.
Mpumalanga,
Fully agree.
Northern Cape,
Northern Cape agrees, Chair.
Northwest,
We accept, Chair.
Western Cape.
Western Cape agrees.
9 provinces voted in favor. I therefore declare the report agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable members, on behalf of the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you, special delegates, MECs, for this very important debate. The last announcement, those members that are part of the subcommittee of rules, in 5 minutes' time, the meeting will be starting in S12A. That concludes the debate and the business of the day. Members are requested to remain standing until the procession has left the house. The house is adjourned.